Hello, this is Gene. I want to talk about a couple things. A lot of things have been resting in my mind the last couple days after seeing what's going on in this country, um, how I really feel deep down inside. Um, I think there needs to be a movement and those who advocate for the Western culture, the white race, to be more, I hate to say it, more inclusive, because there are a lot of people that maybe some on the fringes of whatever the alt-right is would not look at these people as team players, somebody that we could trust. I see a movement on their side that I think we need to embrace, especially in this country. Look, I don't live in Europe. It's been a while since I lived there. I am very sympathetic to what they're going through, and I still believe that if Europe falls demographically, that it's going to come here, and the end of that's going to be a war of a lot of people dying, let's just say. And I want to stop that from happening, but we can't get so wrapped around this ideology that we're going to have a white only country. Um, Maybe at the end of it, when a lot of people are dead and there's maybe, I don't know, half a billion of white people still alive, if that's possible at that point, maybe we'll be able to find our own place. I don't know. And I still don't think that most people are going to do that. I think that there'll be a small group that'll probably still stay back. Um, but I see an awakening in the black community in the United States. There's still a lot of ways for them to go, but there are people that have waking up a lot of people. And this does kind of like fall under what Kanye West has done. And this is something I didn't really like before. I didn't like it when he got on the stage when Taylor Swift was supposed to win her award. But the last days or so, all of a sudden, Taylor Swift has come out and she's a liberal. So it's kind of like everything's kind of like just fell on their head. Kind of, it's changed up. The paradigm has changed so much, and they're just guys that I listen to online. That if I met in a public, I would shake their hand. That I would look at them as Americans, and I think they need to be part of the solution. Now, maybe my viewpoints would be too extreme for them. I think this country needs to be super majority white because we built this country. Um, but at the same time, I think that they understood that to a point. I don't think they talk about that when they're talking to each other, but I think they knew that there was a time that it was about 80 to 90% white in this country, and the rest of them was black people, and a very small amount of Asian or Hispanic at that time. This is when I was first born, but it's changed so much, and I think that they see it as well. When they were the largest minority, they had some clout, and they still do, because without the black vote, the Democrats can never win a national election. Even though the indoctrination to white people the last 50 years have been so extreme, and I realize where all that comes from. I do, and people are going to say, the few people that watches my stuff, I might say that I'm cucking out here, that I'm doing something that's more of a civic nationalism. But I've talked about this on my channel the entire time, that the result has to be the white man and the black man to be together to solve the issues in our own community, help each other out that way. And that idea of limited government and doing things on your own, being responsible for your community, your family, is the way to go. And we see it that Trump, for all his faults, has woken up the black community. There are several people in the black community that are waking them up. In the latest polls I saw said he's getting a 38% approval from the black community. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to go to the polls and vote for Republicans, okay? But personally, I don't look at this as a right and left thing. This is we're all Americans. As much as I really look at white Americans, European Americans, and black Americans as Americans. They were here from the very beginning. Obviously, people who might say, "Oh, you're not talking about Indians." Or what? No, I'm talking about the people that formed this country. And yes, for the most part, white people did it, but there was help, and a lot of that was servitude and slavery. But at the same time, they're part of the fabric for this country. And I don't buy into this thing that this country is immigrant type. It was, but what I'm saying is that they have to be part of the solution. So I see this awakening on their side, but I don't want us just to basically have one or two of them being like tokens. That's not going to help whatever this is. And there are a lot of guys that are black, conservative blacks, that have talked to people in the alt-right, and they understand where we're coming from. Because every other country in the world, there is this thing that says we want to keep it the way it was. And mostly that's based on your race and your culture. It is. It clearly is in Japan. Clearly in any country in Africa, it's like they want to keep it more homogenized. And they see that the white man is being told that they have privilege and they're being shamed, and it's not good for them as well, because that sows a division, and we believe that maybe it's the black man that's doing something to us. Yes, they have issues in their community, but for the most part, they're killing each other. They're robbing each other. I mean, yes, statistically, black people kill white people higher than white people kill black people. We all know that. All the people on the right, well, not everybody, but the people that actually study this stuff know this stuff. There's a problem, and there's a criminality issue in the black community. But personally, I think that's because there's no fathers in the homes. I think that is the very simplest explanation. I've heard so many people on the alt-right sit there and say it's something they're born with. Maybe that might be true when they were in Africa and they had to kill each other. The tribes have this whatever it's called, the warrior dream gene. That may be true, but civilized African Americans or black people in this country, if they have a father in the home, if they have good schooling, if they have responsibility, they don't get in trouble with the law, they have just as much the same amount of opportunity that a white person has. In some areas, they have it more. Unfortunately, overall, this society has changed so much that, Mr. Tatum, and I'll put his information below in the last video he did, because he was very upset about what happened to Kanye West on CNN. And it was. When I saw it, I thought that was racist for other black people to call him a Negro that way. But again, it's one of those things. Can I really talk about it? I'm not. I'm talking about this more of a overarching. When the liberals or the Democrats think that they have a winning message, then somebody like Hillary comes out and says that they don't have to be civil to people on the right, and Holder says, well, when they go low, we're going to kick them. And I'm still wondering when the right really went that low. Others saying that you might value certain things more than other things else. Where the left goes so far and says single mothers are the greatest things of all time, and then somebody on the right might say, well, all the studies show that a father in the home and a family together has got a huge impact on the kids in the marriage. They don't want to hear that. And if we say something like that, that means we're against women in some way, or being racist. People forget how it was in this country in the 60s or 50s when black father stayed at home and white father stayed at home, that the actual economic was very similar as far as how much money they made. Things changed when through leftist democratic policies, that they force this thing onto black people that they're oppressed, and they did it just to them, but now they do it on everybody. And today we still have women saying that they're oppressed. White women in this country are saying they're oppressed because it's one of those things. And in my channel I talk about this all the time about female nature. If they're not being talked about, then they're going to try to figure out a way to be talked about. How can a white woman in the West, in the United States, sit there and say anything about oppressed? Everything has changed. Everything is catered to them. And they continually goes online and they say that we hate them. I could sit there and just write down all this stuff all these journalists, all these blue tech mark people saying that women are oppressed. Are you freaking kidding me? If anybody's really being oppressed, I mean, Asians in this country are being oppressed because they can't go to universities because they have quotas, because they usually have a higher IQ and they do better on tests, and then they look at they're kind of like kicked out of school. They can't get into school because they have to affirmative action everything else. Not just black people, but white women are also got affirmative action, and there's no reason for it. And in that video I'm going to put down below, he talks about that. He talks about we don't need it in 2018. We don't need affirmative action. People of color, black people in this country especially, do not need it. They don't need something to fall back onto. And this thing is permeated for the entire country, that we have this little safety net, and our kids think this way, so they never leave the house. I mean, I look at all my friends, and their kids are actually doing shit. My kids will not leave, and this is my fault because I've fostered this shit. Not willingly. I wanted them to get the hell out when they're 18 because I think that did something for me. But this whole culture is saying it's okay that you can stay at home till you're 30. That never take a risk, never go do anything, that mom and dad will take care of you. And things have changed so much, and people say, well, you're the older generation now, and you don't understand it, and there's differences between the generations. This is something totally different. And the idea that in the 50s or the 60s, if you asked a kid in school what he thought of his country, and now you ask the same kid now, which is the best political systems? And about half of them are going to say communism. Now, can you imagine having that same conversation in the 50s and the 60s? It makes no sense. I mean, the greatest political system of all time, economy system of all time, is capitalism. It's got more and more people out of poverty than any other thing around the world. And it makes no sense that we're just pushing this. You have to basically trust Big Brother to take care of you because you can't make your decisions that way. If you have any motivation in this country that you can make your way, you could definitely do something. I was a guy that really had no motivation. At least I had something I can go to. And I went to the military, and the military gave me some of that, gave me some discipline, gave me goals. But even today, I still struggle with that. There's something that I'm not somebody who was born with that. I'm so thankful that I had the military to go into that. And my son has the same issue. And my father had the same issue. It's something that's kind of like woven through us. I don't know what we were, how we still survived. This side of the line that I'm on actually survived. But we did, and I guess I was lucky enough that my parents were high IQ. They went to college. So I sit there and say they had no motivation. They went to college, and my father was a teacher, but after that, he couldn't deal with doing it, so he became a route salesman for a newspaper. He'd wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and just throw 500 newspapers, and he'd be home by 9 o'clock. Now, for him, that was enough. He didn't live in a great place, but he wasn't a great father. I didn't have him in my life. My mom, obviously, as the female nature dictates, she thought she was marrying a guy that was college educated, didn't set up to what she wanted, and then she divorced him to find something that was somebody who was more motivated than my stepfather was, I guess. He was older, of course. He didn't really have a lot of money, but he worked he basically killed himself. He killed himself to work for the rest of the family. So there's this whole thing that we're being told as men and boys that we're the problem, especially white people. Now, again, this is all through the media and stuff, and they lionize single mothers, and they talk about reforming the prisons. But clearly, black males still have it unbelievably bad. They do. Even if they're a good person, there's still part of that old thing that comes up. Can you really trust them? And I think that's human nature anyway. You would do that no matter where you are. If you're a little bit different than you don't always trust them. But hopefully we can change this, have more, I don't say conservative men in the black community, just people that say, it's more important from the father to stay at home, that I'm not going to have sex for every girl on the street, that I'm going to stand up as a good person and stay with my community. And then if I can't change it, I'm going to take everybody out and go to a better place or whatever to make it better for everybody else. So it's just, I want to talk about Conway, but there's no reason why. Too many people are talking about it. People that have millions and millions of subscribers. But I think that was a seminal moment. I think the last couple of days have been a seminal moment when Taylor Swift came out and basically cowed down to liberalism. Nobody really knew that she was conservative or not. And again, I don't really care if you're conservative or not. It's about just being what's right. Having some set of values that says that it's okay to be married. It's okay to stay in your own race if you want. It's okay to have kids. It's okay if the woman stays at home to take care of the kids, and not be vilified for that. And guys not being shamed because you're being a guy. That you can't just say, oh, that's fun. Let me have a beer. Let me fart here and there. Let me act like being a guy. And then academia is just all behind this, and they're all in lockstep with. You have academia, you have mainstream media, and then you have about 80% of everybody in Washington believe the same shit because they've been indoctrinated all the way through that. Even conservatives say the same shit later on in life. They want to believe all women. And it's a fool's errand to believe women. Women when they talk about guys lie as much as women, there's no difference here. I mean, women lie at least 10 times more than men. They just do. Guys, for the most part, if they have any type of being a real guy, they don't lie that much. They might, to get out of doing stuff, maybe not going to work one day, or you might get called in a white lie. But most guys will fess up. They will. I'm not talking about criminals and stuff. I'm talking about women will lie just to get out of shit all the time. And they won't think it's a lie. They just won't. They think that, well, it was okay for me to do that. No, it's fine. And this gets you back to all false accusations. As a person in the military, I saw probably 5 to 6 people being not charged, but accused of doing something of a sexual assault. Only one of them was prosecuted because there was evidence, and he pretty much admitted that he did it. He said he was drunk, but he did it. But the rest of them are all false accusations. So it's that 5 out of 6 or 4 out of 5, 80 to 85% were liars. And it was, he didn't come home when I wanted him to come home. He was upset because I think one guy got promoted, and she got upset about it and reported him for that because she didn't get promoted. She was late to watch one night, and she said that the guy there tried to rape him. They had a video there, thank God, or he would have been in jail. There's so many ways that they do this. They don't want to take responsibility because we pushed it in them that women are never responsible for anything. We've taken it from the sexual thing that, no, women are never responsible at any time when it comes to sex. Never. They have no agency at all. And we push that down to everything else, even in the workplace, if they don't do things right, because part of what guys are is that we always want to help women. But at the same time, media is telling us that we hate women, that there is no chivalry anymore, and that we're all misogynists. And it just continually goes on and on and on, and it just destroys the male. And for what it's worth, even today, without strong men, our country dies. And you're seeing it. This is what I see. And when I try to talk about this in my family, they don't see it because they're just lost in the ecutamer, and they think they're all part of this. We're all on this different level of privilege, and somehow I'm the most privileged person out there because I'm over 50 and I'm a white guy. It's very shocking to me because I've not really seen it. I mean, I came from the wrong side of the tracks, and I've never really seen any privilege in my life. The only thing I can be somewhat proud of is that I've raised my family and I served the United States Air Force. Anyway, I want to bring it all back. What's going on with Millennial Woes, and he's got taken off Twitter for saying something that's factually right. and I'm not going against PC stuff here, but I don't think that it was very necessary for him to say what he said. Yeah, statistically he's right. Black people are more commit more criminal acts than white people. Everybody knows this. Twitter shouldn't have done what they should have done, but that's not the fight that we have to have. We just can't sit there and say that black people are this or that, especially in the United States. We have a chance here. We're waking up enough of them that if Trump gets another 4 years, if we build a wall, if we limit immigration, if we bring some sanity back into academia at the lowest levels, all the way up to college universities, that we have a chance here to get our country back to where it was the greatest country in the world. I mean, can't people just open up their eyes and just watch what's happening in California? The greatest country, the greatest state in the country 30 years ago, and look at it now. This is what the rest of the country is going to end up being, other than there'll be pockets like Wyoming and maybe Montana, Idaho. There could be places that are going to still be United States, and that might mean that's white people, but it's going to be, they're going to be top pockets of it. And eventually, I guess a lot of white people might go to these places. It just, if they just open up their eyes and they would see this and say, this is what liberalism, that progressivism that we've become into, that is the rest of the world's going to look like. And there aren't really any other real in the West. I mean, obviously you can say Sweden and stuff before they got all the migrants inside, that it was a very small country. And part of what they were, the Swedes are always virtuous, let's say. So in a smaller country, you can do that. But on a country that's over 350 million people, it's kind of hard to be that way. There are going to be people who are going to be winners. There are going to be people who are not going to be winners. And you're going to have a huge middle class. And that's what you want. You want a huge middle class that can take care of themselves. They don't need to be on government subsidies, whatever you want to talk about Social Security. When you get into those arguments, I'm not talking about that. I have no issue with that to a point. I think if you play into it, you should have it at the end of your work life. You know, people talk about that all the time. Whatever. That's not really where we're at right now. We're talking about saving the United States and the West in general. Part of it has to be a demographic shift back to what it was before, and also to realize that, especially in this country, we have an opportunity here for us to be together to solve this issue. Now, at the end of the day, they might go to their black communities and do what they have to do, but if the fathers are in the home and they're doing well, that's great. And we might go back to the white communities, and there might be people in between that do this. That's human nature. But we still can all be Americans. And when I started this channel years ago, I started talking about this, Americanism. I talked that there's a chance here that we can do something. And I started going down the rabbit hole, and I got myself all the way down to the alt-right. And I started seeing the very crazy shit that comes on from that. And yeah, I used to watch into it, some of the memes stuff, that was kind of funny. And I get where, I know who's doing all this stuff. I do. I understand that. But if we're more stronger than that, if we become unified in this country under our values that we had before, who cares about what they have to do? We're going to be the ones that decide what we're going to watch on TV instead of listening to the shit that they have to say. When we talk about YouTube should have their own channel that's allowed for free speeching, why can't we do that? Why do we let those people run all of Hollywood? Why can't we own our own studios and do things like that? I mean, Mel Gibson would probably do something like that. There's a way to do this. And again, not all Jewish people are bad. The first time, the entire 24 minutes, I said their ethnicity. Not all of them are, but there are people that are running the media companies and all that stuff that clearly have us in their target sites. They do, and they know once they get rid of us that they have complete control. People, it's really funny to me when they sit there. I mean, Chris Stuckman, who's a movie reviewer, said that we're all this movie he just viewed talked about everybody as being atomized people. They just want to buy products. Well, that's something the alt-right talks about all the time. And the being an individualist on steroids and all you want to be part of the consumer thing that will always do this stuff. And it's going to get 100 times worse because technology is going to get more and more, and people will never leave their house. They'll just believe whatever comes in. They'll take all their information and they'll bring it down to their own echo chamber, and they'll believe what they're going to do. And somebody, like the guy, strangely enough, was a Jew, was going to build a 200-pound bun to blow up. Dude, we can do this. We can make it more palatable to say, get off that, and people that are white to stop feeling guilty about themselves. There's no reason for you to be guilty. Most people that are white in this country came here after the Civil War. They never had slaves. We changed so much on how we look at people, but it doesn't mean that we can't defend and protect the United States and understand why it's here and why it's important that the founders stay. Again, I'm not going to be around. My kids will be here. Hopefully there's grandkids will be around. I'm just trying to stop it before it becomes too crazy. And it's there. It's like once it starts going 2, 4, and when it starts going, and just starts metastasizing, and you think, okay, it won't be 20 years before it really gets bad. It's already here, people. And we got to figure out a way to be together on this, because we can't go against each other on it, because we're going to be so insulated from each other that we can't come back at it as Americans. There are enough of us, regardless of party, if we just make sure that we want to be Americans. What happened with Kavanaugh and all that stuff was so anti-American. The idea of America, innocent until proven guilty, and it's waking people up. Now the question is, in this 3 or 4 weeks, what's the electorate going to do? Hopefully, again, the thing is, the Republicans are just as bad, but they're better than what the other side is. So I will be voting Republican. I do like DeSantis anyway, so I probably vote for him anyway. But I'm going to do that. And I know a lot of them don't like Trump. I get it. But we have to do this. And we've got to get past that it's just about the color of our skin and our history and heritage. It is, okay? We should defend it, absolutely. But in this country especially, these people were here with us. I don't care about they were in bondage and all that shit. A lot of white people were. But we're Americans. And we have a chance here to just change their community. And if you do that, it's going to make it so much better for our community. And together we can make this country better. As the president said, make America great again. And that's all I want to do. But I also want Europe to be saved as well. All right, I'm going to stop because I've been talking forever. I could talk about this forever. You can call me what you want. You can say I'm being a cunking out. I don't really care. But we have to be realistic of what's going on in the future. They just can't. They can make a huge difference. And they are waking up. I see it. I really do. And if we do that, then we can make things better. We're still going to have this issue with the media making it more about black people having sex with our women. And it all pisses me off too. It does. But we need to be grown up about it, and we need to fix it. Because if we don't, the United States is not going to be what we think it is. It's going to be like California, and we're going to be inflation is going to be like Brazil and Venezuela. It's going to fucking happen. I don't want to happen. I don't want to happen to my kids. That's it. Let me talk. Let me stop. Thank you for watching. If you have any comments below, let me know. And you guys have a good weekend, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.